Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into blockchain technology. It's a field that's not just growing, it's really exploding across industries.
Definitely.
Our core mission, to sort of cut through the noise and really get a handle on what it takes to become a blockchain plus developer.
And this is such a pivotal moment. If you're anywhere in the digital landscape, maybe a software engineer, IT pro, strategist, even in finance, understanding blockchain development is, well, it's fast becoming essential, not just a nice to have.
Absolutely. And just to give you a sense of the scale here,
Uh-huh.
the global blockchain market, it's predicted to surge from about $20 billion this year,
Which is already huge.
right, to a massive $248.9 billion by 2029. That's an annual growth rate of, what, 65.5%? Just incredible.
It really is.
And it's really interesting is how fast it's evolved. We had Bitcoin back in 2008, showing decentralized digital currency was possible.
The proof of concept, really.
Then Ethereum lands in 2015, and boom, smart contracts, dApps, a whole new layer of potential.
And it hasn't stopped. Now we're seeing things like zero-knowledge rollups, verifying transactions without revealing all the data, which is great for privacy.
Right. And cross-chain interoperability,
Mhm.
getting different blockchains to actually talk to each other seamlessly.
Yeah, that's a big one. And what's fascinating is how this isn't just theory anymore. It's manifesting in really tangible ways. Blockchain isn't just crypto coins.
Not all.
It's becoming fundamental technology for, well, all sorts of things. Secure financial transactions, obviously, but also transparent supply chains. You can track goods from source to shelf.
Identity verification, too, makes it a
Yeah.
little more robust.
Exactly. And even gaming, creating more immersive experiences. It's really shaping up to be, like many people are saying, the new sort of bedrock of trust for the digital economy.
That idea of decentralization, shifting power away from single points of failure, it feels like a pretty fundamental shift.
It absolutely is. It creates systems that are more resilient, more resistant to censorship. It's a different paradigm.
Okay, so with all this change, this transformation happening, what are the key skills? What do developers need to be focusing on right now?
Well, top of the list has to be smart contract development, writing those self-executing agreements directly into code on the blockchain.
Right, and building the actual decentralized applications, the dApps that run on these networks.
Precisely. Then there's the crucial part, security auditing. You have to be able to find and fix vulnerabilities in these systems.
Performance optimization, too, I imagine. Making sure these networks can actually handle the load as they grow.
Oh, absolutely. Scalability is a huge challenge. And finally, engineering for that interoperability we mentioned, making different blockchain ecosystems work together smoothly.
So the required skill set has really broadened then. It's not just about writing clean code anymore.
Not at all.
Wow.
Developers now need a much deeper understanding of unique security risks, the challenges of scaling distributed systems, how to integrate this new tech with older systems.
So adapting isn't just beneficial. It sounds essential to stay relevant.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial in this field right now.
Okay, let's maybe unpack this a bit. Who really stands to gain the most from picking up these skills? Let's start with entrepreneurs, startup founders.
Yeah, for them, this knowledge is huge. It lets you actually design and build completely new kinds of decentralized applications. Think about business models built on transparency from the ground up.
Using those unique features like immutability records you can't tamper with and that distributed consensus.
Exactly. It allows for innovations that just weren't possible before. You can build trust into the system itself.
And what about the software developers, the engineers listening?
Well, for them, becoming proficient here puts you right at the cutting edge. You're the ones actually creating, deploying, maintaining these blockchain solutions, these smart contracts.
And I guess it opens up a lot of new career paths. There's a big demand, right?
Oh, huge demand. It's significantly outpacing the supply of developers with these specific skills right now. It's a great time to learn.
Okay, what about IT professionals? How does this fit into their world?
For IT pros, it's about integration. How can you use blockchain to build more secure, more efficient IT infrastructures? Think about data integrity, streamlining processes.
So could you use it to make internal logs tamper-proof, for example?
That's a perfect example. Imagine securing internal data logs on a private blockchain. They become auditable, trustworthy. It significantly boosts data integrity and security. It prompts IT to ask, how can this augment what we already have?
Makes sense. And then business analysts, consultants.
For them, it's about understanding the tech well enough to see the business value, analyzing where blockchain can optimize operations, deliver real ROI.
So translating the technical possibilities into like concrete business advantages.
Exactly. Understanding the strategic implications, not just the tech itself.
And finally, financial services professionals. This seems like a huge area for blockchain.
Oh, definitely. Finance is arguably one of the most impacted industries. Secure transactions, reducing fraud, improving compliance reporting.
Faster payments, more resilient record keeping.
The potential for innovation there is just immense.
Okay, so you might be listening and thinking, is this really for me? Am I ready for this? Let's do a quick readiness check.
Good idea.
Do you have like a basic understanding of programming concepts? Things like data structures, how data is organized, algorithms, step-by-step procedures, maybe some network basics.
You don't need to be a PhD in computer science, but some fundamentals help.
Right. Are you comfortable with at least one programming language?
Yeah.
Python, JavaScript, Java, something similar?
Mm-hmm.
Have you used a command line console before? And importantly, do you have some experience building an application, like from start to finish?
End-to-end experience is really valuable.
If you're nodding along to these, you probably have a pretty solid foundation to start building on.
Yeah, absolutely. Those fundamentals are the building blocks. It's more about having that core programming mindset than being an expert in everything already.
Okay, so the mission for this part of our deep dive is clear then. We want to get a really comprehensive understanding of what something like the Blockchain Plus Developer Certification actually covers.
And why it's so relevant right now.
Exactly. And what's compelling is just how much ground this certification seems to cover. It looks like a real journey, starting right at the beginning.
It really does. It kicks off with those fundamental principles, the bedrock of blockchain.
Yeah, understanding core ideas like decentralization, moving away from central control, why cryptography is so vital for security in these systems.
And the consensus mechanisms, things like proof of work, proof of stake, how the network actually agrees on the transaction history.
It sort of lays the groundwork, traces how blockchain applications evolved beyond just crypto.
Right, and building on that, it dives deep into smart contracts,
All right.
especially focusing on the Ethereum ecosystem.
So covering the Ethereum virtual machine, the EVM, that runtime environment for the contracts.
And Solidity itself. That's the main language for writing smart contracts on Ethereum and similar chains.
And it's not just Hello World in Solidity, right?
Yeah.
It goes into libraries, reusable code blocks interfaces for contract interaction.
And modifiers, which are crucial for controlling access and behavior within the contracts. It gives you the tools to build pretty sophisticated stuff.
Yeah, architecting efficient solutions.
What's also really interesting is the focus on tokenization and NFTs, non-fungible tokens. That's an area just exploding right now.
It really is.
Yeah.
Understanding that seems vital for developers now. Tokenization opens up things like fractional ownership, totally new kinds of digital assets.
It changes how value is managed and exchanged online.
And the market reflects that. The tokenization market is projected to hit, what, $10.2 billion by 2032? Growing at nearly 20% a year. That's significant. Wow. So the certification covers those key ERC standards, like ERC20 for fungible tokens, the ones that are interchangeable like currency.
And ERC 721 for the unique ones, the NFTs.
Right. And also the practical side, how do you actually store the data associated with these things? Using decentralized storage like IPFS.
The interplanetary file system.
Yeah. And tools like Panada Cloud that make using IPFS easier.
So it's not just theory, it's practical application. And that extends to the development tools as well, right? The day-to-day toolkit.
Absolutely. It covers essential frameworks like Truffle, Ganache, Hardhat, these really streamlined coding, debugging, deploying smart contracts.
Saves a lot of headaches.
Definitely. And familiarity with MetaMask for managing Ethereum accounts, the Remix IDE, the browser-based editor for Solidity.
Which is great for getting started.
Yeah. And importantly, using private networks like Geth. So you can test everything thoroughly in a simulated environment before you go live on a public chain.
That testing aspect is crucial. And that leads into dApp integration and testing, which the certification also covers heavily.
It does. And with the dApps market growing so fast, projected year $71 billion by 2030, over 56% annual growth.
Incredible numbers.
Knowing how to connect your web app front end to the blockchain back end is key. Using JavaScript libraries like web3.js or ethers.js.
So managing user wallets, creating secure transactions from the user interface.
Exactly. Ensuring that whole user experience is smooth and safe.
Now, what about developers looking more at enterprise applications? Does it cover private blockchains?
It does. There's a specific focus on private blockchains and Hyperledger Fabric. It starts by explaining the differences public-private consortium blockchains and when you use each.
And then dives into Fabric itself.
Right into the architecture of Hyperledger Fabric, the idea of chain code, which is basically their version of smart contracts. And the practical side, again, using tools like Docker and Docker Compose for managing the development environment efficiently using containers.
That makes sense for enterprise settings, and I saw it includes Golang or Go for Hyperledger development.
Yes, which is interesting. It reflects that need for high performance and efficiency in many enterprise blockchain use cases.
Go is known for that.
So you learn Go Basics installation, syntax, right through to developing actual chain code, including proper error handling. It gives you another powerful language option.
So it's quite comprehensive. Does it stop at basic development or cover more advanced topics too?
It goes further. Covers extending Hyperledger Fabric with custom chain code, integrating your blockchain network with front ends using REST APIs.
Okay, that's important for real-world integration.
And crucially, security again. Smart contract auditing. Learning how to use standard tools like Slither, Solhint.
Tools to find vulnerabilities before deployment.
Exactly. And also tools specific to Fabric integration like Fab Connect and exploring solutions like Firefly. It really aims to make sure you understand how to build trustworthy applications.
Wow, okay, so looking at that whole scope fundamentals, Ethereum, Solidity, NFTs, tooling, dApps, Hyperledger, Go, advanced topics, security, it really does seem like a comprehensive learning path.
It really does cover a lot of ground, which brings us back to the why. Why is getting certified or just learning this stuff so important now? We touched on the challenges.
Right. The shortage of skilled developers is a major one. Finding people who actually understand this space is tough for companies.
And integrating these new systems with existing, often older IT infrastructure, that can be really complex.
Definitely not trivial. And security, always security. It's paramount, especially when dealing with potentially high-value assets or sensitive data.
So initiatives like the AI certification, they're aiming squarely at that skills gap, aren't they?
Precisely. They're designed to give developers practical, applicable knowledge they can use immediately. It helps bridge that gap between demand and supply.
And having developers across different departments understand this, it must help collaboration, innovation.
Hugely. When more people understand the potential and the practicalities, you break down silos. You get marketing, talking to engineering, talking to legal, all with some common understanding of blockchain.
And these programs need to stay current, given how fast things change.
Absolutely. Continuous updates are essential to reflect the latest tools, techniques, and security best practices. It's a fast-moving target.
So ultimately, building these skills helps make businesses more agile, more ready for the future.
It fosters a culture of innovation around what is, let's face it, a genuinely transformative technology.
Yeah, it's really important to stress that blockchain isn't just some tech fad. It feels like a fundamental shift.
It is a shift in how we handle trust, security, digital value. It impacts everything in our connected world.
The direction of the digital economy is definitely being shaped by this. And the people who get the skills now.
They're going to be the ones leading the way, the pioneers in this ongoing revolution.
So if you're listening and you want to move from just watching this happen to actually being part of shaping it, getting the right knowledge, the right skills is step one.
It really is.
A certification like the Blockchain Plus Developer One could be that stepping stone, giving you practical, valuable expertise that's really in demand.
So maybe a final thought to leave people with. Consider this. As blockchain weaves its way deeper into finance, supply chains, identity, even entertainment, how is that going to fundamentally reshape our digital lives or economic models in ways we maybe can't even fully imagine yet?
That's the big question, isn't it? That's the transformative landscape you could potentially help build.